Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I'm writing a novel in 2 years, supposedly. I am a TV writer by profession. I've written for shows like How to Get Away with Murder, I've written for The Sandman, and I've written for Faith the Wink Saga Season 2. I've also developed animes with Crunchyroll. R.I.P. I'm writing a literary horror novel, and I'm writing under Lighthouse Writers. It's a 2-year program called the Book Project, which is a program to help you get as far into your manuscript as possible, hopefully with a completed first draft. Apparently, I'm supposed to have a completed first draft by the end of this year. It ain't looking great. No, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's gonna be great. The book is everywhere, and I'm like, it's not giving a 260-page novel that I promise. I'm spiraling. It's fine. Anyway, it's a literary horror novel, and the basic premise is it's told from the perspective of a monster who is dying, who is going through the memories of the last person it has eaten, because it's comprised of a bunch of different humans. So it's going through the memories of the last person that it's consumed to try to figure out, what have you done to me? Did you do something to me? And can I help solve my death? So that's like the basic premise. So we follow the human that it's eaten, and we then kind of also have the perspective of the monster. So it's kind of like two different things. I'm using objective point of view for the memory part. That's kicking my ass. For the monster part, I'm using second person, which is why I'm also currently in a second person workshop on the weekends. As far as my writing schedule goes, I have Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it kind of forces me to get 4 hours of writing in 3 times a week. This past fucking Friday so I'm doing that, and then on the weekends, on Saturday from 12 to 2, I do the second person workshop, which has been amazing because this teacher that I have is amazing. I've also had a cohort meeting, which is my small 6-person cohort met with our mentor. So when you apply for the book project, you apply to go under a certain mentor of your choice and you get chosen. So 6 of us are under him, and we had a cohort meeting this week. And that's what this episode, I guess, is about, because my wig was flipped. It's about, what is your book about? That was the question. What is your book about? You know, I had a lot of different ideas of what I thought it was about. This week was kind of an exploration on just pinning down, what the fuck am I writing about? You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes you misconstrue theme for thesis, I guess, is kind of like what it is. So like I said, during this cohort meeting, the question was, we worked on this homework assignment that was about stakes. And as we all know, we have the kind of external stakes, which is, oh my God, the volcano has erupted and I have to flee and get safety. It's plot. And then you have the deeper stakes, the internal stakes of the character, which kind of leads into what the story is about. I'm trying to escape this volcano with my cat, and my cat to me represents hope and a future. So in saving the cat, it's hoping for a better world, something like that. The character has something deeper that they're fighting for, and that kind of corresponds to what the book is about. I kind of got that confused with theme. So when they asked me, like, what's the deeper stakes? What is this book about? I have like, okay, it's about epigenetic. It's about individualism versus collectivism. It's anti-capitalist. And it's like, that's so great, but those are themes. That's not what the book is about. What are you trying to say? What is the larger scope of the book that you are trying to say about society as a whole? And that's a harder question than you think. And I feel like let me not be shady. I feel like people struggle with finishing projects, especially writing, because you get all caught up in the plot and you lose sight of or you don't know, why am I writing this book and what am I trying to say through this book? You know what I mean? As I was struggling in the past couple of weeks to write, it's because I kind of didn't pin down what the book was actually about. And this week, I got what the book is actually about, but it took some grit. You find out what the book is about by understanding the inner, deeper stakes of your character. And that usually points to what the book is trying to say. So in our assignment, We looked at a section of Cormac McCarthy. I know, he's a fucking creep. I do love his writing, whatever. We looked at an example of Cormac McCarthy's The Road. So we looked at a little section of the book, and then through that we talked about what is this book about. And I'm gonna read to you like the distinction between the upper stakes and the lower stakes. So I have this pulled up here. You probably can't read it, but it's helpful for me to reference it. So we're looking at the upper stakes, the external stakes of the character in The Road. So we got like a little paragraph, and we had to decipher what that is. So in The Road, it's like we don't know what happened to the world. It's destroyed, and there's all these people to survive, and there's the elements to survive, and there's no food, and there's this dad with his kid just trying to get to the somewhere. And so the immediate stakes, the upper stakes, is trying to survive this imminent danger, getting to point B, and surviving all of the different challenges and humans and conditions that can kill them at any moment. So it's about immediate survival, and it's also about protecting his child. So the main character has to protect himself, but it's mostly about making sure that he protects his child through all that, which is a different level of external stakes. So that's like the upper stakes. The underlying stakes, this is what our teacher pointed out to us. He basically said that the deeper stakes is what the survival might signify, especially in a dead world. And the father's goal is to prove something about faith and about God and about the future. And to prove that there is a greater good, that there is a God, the child represents that. Saving his son represents goodness, and saving him represents having a future and godliness. He's placing a sacred kind of pact onto this child. If he fails, then everything fades to nothing. He has nothing, there's no hope, there's no future. So that's different. That's different than theme, right? Because the themes of it could be a father-son relationship, grief, trauma. This is what is at stake for your character if things don't happen. So stakes are a little different than like what the book is about as a whole, but you can usually find what the book is about as a whole through what you have as far as what's at stake, inner stake for your character. Hey, we can't say what Cormac McCarthy is trying to say or what he is saying through this book, but we do know that following a father who's placing this mission on to save his child, to have a future, to save humanity, I should say something about how he views the world and darkness in the world. And there is something there. We just don't know it. I don't know it. I'm not gonna look up any interviews from him right now because like, fuck him. Your plot is, yes, it's a way to tell a story, but it's kind of a mechanism to explore and express what your book is about. Thematically, yes, but through your plot and what you choose to happen and the decisions that you choose to make to your characters kind of reveals what you think that you're writing about. And that was kind of my big thing. So in that exercise that we had to do, we had to answer what are the stakes of your character and how does that kind of relate to the greater message of what your book is about? Child, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I thought I had all these answers. I was like, period, got you. It's about epigenetics, and it's about the triumph of the collective spirit and imagination to create a greater future, period. It's like, yeah, right. But can you boil down what it is that you're trying to say? And that's not to say that you can't say a bunch of different things, but I was just like, it's like, okay, what is this about? And I'm like, boom, 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 boom. But what am I trying to say is like, I was like, yeah, well, it's really about since humans are being fed to this monster, this machine, and it's like this society where like humans are powering technology, and it's kind of like, well, it's kind of representative of Western imperialism and late stage capitalism and how exploitative labor in the Congo, cobalts, and how our blood and that is like a theme and an idea that I'm trying to explore, which is still good, and you should still know it. But like, what am I trying to say? Like, simply put, I think there is value in kind of being able to form like a single thought around what it is that you're trying to explore, both what the deeper stakes are for your character and how that relates to the deeper message of your book. So on a character level, I had to answer, what is this book about? What are the inner stakes of this character? The human that my monster is looking through memory through is called Pumpkin. She's so cute. And Pumpkin's major external stakes are to escape you know, being consumed by the monster who was called Unity. That's the external stakes. And there's a bunch of different challenges because she's a very individualistic person and has chosen not to engage with the community. There's a real big struggle in having to escape and get out of the city because she doesn't have connections with anyone. A big part of her external battle is, how do I connect with people that I shunned and didn't fuck with to begin with? And because I didn't fuck with these people, the choices that I have to make in order to get out are things that I never wanted to do. And then here's where I struggled, the inner stakes of our characters. I'm gonna give it to you raw. I'm gonna give it to you, like, I'm not finna look at the notes, like I'm about to just try, and you're gonna see why I struggled. So let's try to do this. Pumpkin is someone that was raised to believe she's exceptional. And it was put into her mind that she's exceptional by her mom, who needed her to be exceptional to hopefully get them out of a tough living situation. And she drilled that into Pumpkin's mind so Pumpkin can behave exceptional. You are the best. Don't worry about anybody else. So Pumpkin grew up with this individualistic and I'm exceptional and kind of delusion of grandeur in order to help her mother survive. And so when it comes time to escape Unity, it can't just be about escape, because that's what a normal person's thing with Unity is about. She comes to believe that, you know, this is actually this is my destiny. It's not about getting caught. I think I'm now on a mission to destroy this monster. Like, that's what this is about. So if I can get out of the city, I can destroy Unity. You see, she can't just believe that you're just a regular human that's got caught up and now you need to run. She has to believe that her case is exceptional and that she's being put on this journey to destroy this monster. Because if she, for a second, realizes that you don't have this exceptional relationship to the world, that we can all succumb to the horrors of the system, that you are kind of a normal person, she cracks. She loses faith in who she is as a person. She doesn't have it. It's a survival thing. It's a way to keep going and a way to keep moving forward. So you see, like, that makes sense, but I can't pitch that as far as like, what are you trying to talk about? Like, you can't give. I think it's messy for your mind to not have a way to summarize it. You know what I mean? Like, because when it comes time to write and I have to keep coming back to like, what is it about? What is it about? I can't go through that whole paragraph in my mind. I need a simple boom, boom, boom. It doesn't have to be one thing, but it does have to be simple, like a mantra. So as I'm writing, I know what I'm writing towards. It is getting so dark. I really hope you can see me. I added a light that's definitely gonna die because it always dies. So let's hope that this works out. So in class, I really didn't get to that answer. We had like an exercise where we explored like in a sentence or two, like what are the deeper stakes of your character and how does that relate to what your book is about? I struggled. I haven't been writing cold. Like, I had an idea and that's what I based my plot around. But I realized I think the reason why I'm struggling to write these scenes is because each scene needs to explore in some way what your themes and what you're saying, what your stakes are. Like, every scene kind of needs to serve that purpose. And it's the same thing in TV. It's probably the same thing in a lot of different art forms. And again, I think that's why people who write novels for the first time struggle. I think you get lost in the plot. Literally, you get lost in the sauce. And I think you lose sight of the why, which kind of makes it just a plotty mess. We've all read books and watched movies where it's just a plotty mess and you're kind of left with like, I guess, girl, sure, whatever. During one of the Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, I forget which one, I spent the whole 4 hours, basic give or take, trying to digest and figure out what this book is about. I called on one of my cohort friends and I was like, yo, I need you to jump in the breakout room because like I'm spiraling, I need your help. Side note, even as a writer, you need to have writer friends. We all need each other. Don't just write in a silo. So here's a clip of my day of trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Okay, so right now, bonnet and all, I'm working on the stakes, aka, or the deeper stakes, aka what the fuck is this book about? So right now I'm working on like my mentor gave us like a sheet about stakes. And I'm trying to work on my one sentence, two sentence, this is what the book is about, without getting caught up in plot. I'm using my one main character, the human character, as the base for my stakes, but it's about the overarching message of the book. So it has to apply to the whole story, the whole book, versus just my one character. So right now I have a woman, a woman comes to believe her survival proves her divine worth. And if she is no longer chosen, rare, or exceptional, she fears she has no value at all. So I'm trying to get to, for some people, being grand, feeling exceptional, feeling like I'm chosen by God is a way to survive the day-to-day violence of capitalism. I'm using you to speak out loud. In my cohort class, we kind of got to it. It's kind of like, how do you survive? Or is it a fear of death? So some of the ideas that I got was disillusion of the self, death, exceptionality, individuality is the lie we tell ourselves. To what? It's difficult because what the book is about is also what I'm trying to say. And so I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of trying to say it's the way that exceptionality and individuality is a lie that we tell ourselves in the face to survive in the face of imminent death. What about exceptionality and individuality is the lie we tell ourselves in order to survive a system of oppression? How do I say, like, an unwinnable system of oppression? Like, it's an insurmountable force. What I need to Google it. Hold on. I think we might go with indomitable. But also, see, that's the thing. Am I saying that, because the indomitable is incapable of being defeated, overcome, or subdued. Am I saying that these systems are incapable of being defeated? You see that it's like, what do you feel? Do I feel like the system, the world, that's what I'm talking about, through this story. Do I feel like this system is incapable of being defeated? I think I know that I want it to be defeated. I know that there are people out there that believe it can be defeated. I know that it will not be probably in my lifetime. I know that it will be horribly scary and tragic for us to start to defeat it, because it would take a lot of violence. I can imagine a world that looks different. But in this story, what am I trying to say? Because there's a moment at the end where I'm saying that I don't want to completely spoil my own thing, but there's a moment in the end of the story where the monster is kind of in community now with all of the humans inside of it, and uses imagination kind of as a way to, there's no way out for any of them, but they're using imagination to like fantasize and survive and like come up with an alternate reality that they can exist in. So I'm almost saying that's the first step, and that's all that some people will be able to do. Let me see some other words. Like, what if I say undefeated? Like an undefeated, okay, so it would be exceptionality, individuality is the lie we tell ourselves in order to survive an undefeated system of oppression. We did it. I feel like after the cohort meeting, I was struggling because I'm like, wait, what am I trying to say? And I think I may have got it, but I don't know. Do you feel like you understood yours?
Okay, so.
And I was like, am I really saying that it's an inconquerable system? Like what that it's I'm getting really meta now because I'm just like, what am I trying to say about the system of oppression? Because I'm like, I wanted to do this today just to like ground myself in what it is now, because that class I realized that my brain was just like in too many different places. But this is really helpful. And I think I'm going to take this as I write today. And I appreciate you for jumping on. I don't know if you're writing, but like, thank you. Okay, so I just finished talking to a cohort member. We just hopped into a breakout room, and it was really helpful to kind of narrow some stuff down. We're going to skip the one sentence thing. That it's going to change, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I did want to kind of narrow this down today. And I think it's okay if I don't have the right words. I think it's okay to say exceptionality and individuality is the lie we tell ourselves in order to survive a system of oppression. I don't have to say it's undefeated. I don't have to say it's indomitable, unless we'll see how I feel as I write. In the story itself, we present an alternative of community and of imagination as survival, not necessarily thriving, but as survival and forward thinking. That while this is maybe inconquerable, the small acts is what helps the beginning of change. And including those small acts, and then eventually in part 2 when all the stuff is together and everyone's fantasizing. I think, yeah, the next Pomodoro, I'm going to continue writing. But this was super helpful. This is what the book is about. To the point where I understood that what I'm trying to say is exceptionalism and individualism is the lie we tell ourselves in order to survive a oppressive, potentially unbeatable system. We're going to talk about this in our part 2. Now I have to think, is that what I'm trying to say as far as looking at the nitty-gritty of that message? In saying unbeatable, insurmountable system, I'm implying that I believe that the system, you cannot beat it, and that there's no choice out of it. And so in that conversation I had with my cohort member, he basically was just like, it's about, in the plot, showing that you do believe that there are alternatives. But it also does lead you to have to meditate on how do you actually feel. And there's a subconscious layer to figuring out what the fuck you're writing about. And that's something that we're gonna explore in this next part. Our books, our art, teaches us about ourselves. The reason why people are like, art is inherently political is because it comes from the artist's point of view and their worldview, and that is inherently political because it's going to be shaped by the systems around us, our relationship to other people. That's what that means when people say that. When we look at what we're producing, we're kind of looking at it's like a little window to our dark, disturbed, creepy soul. This last script that I wrote was supposed to be a normal workplace drama, super chill. Then it became a story about primordial gods who demand blood, and I don't know. So what the fuck am I trying to say about myself? Cut my life into. But even if you're doing something light, like if you're writing like a romance novel or romantasy novel, I'm sighing because about what I'm about to say. You notice like in romantic novels, or if maybe you haven't read them, there's a trope with the main character who's usually a female character. Usually it's about a main female character having to overcome the challenges, usually a strength issue, and become strong and powerful and the chosen one. A lot of times the main character is like, I'm so small, I can barely lift a leaf. And then sometimes it gets weird and it's like, I'm pale and I'm just. But when you think about that, it's like, well, why does the author, why do the authors choose this to be the main character? And yes, it's a trope, but if we are creative people, why the fuck can't you come up with something else in that trope? They don't have to know fucking jujitsu, but do you have to emphasize that their wrists are so small and I'm just so skinny? It kind of points to what is considered desirable, right? Because romantically, the main girl, like, everyone loves her, you're just so cute and you're just so small and I can snap you in half, and I love that about you. But like, why is that the choice? If we are creators and we can come up with whatever the fuck we want to come up with, now we're looking at the author's psyche, because why did you make that choice? You think you're making that choice just because it's a trope, but there's something in you, in the subconscious in you, that feels like this is my main character. Everything comes from a place inside of us, and so we have to look at every single choice that everyone's making, and that's in romantasy, fantasy, sci-fi. Why are the bad guy characters, why are they always dark? Like, that's a subconscious choice that the author might not even be making. They might not be trying to be fucking racist, but it's inherent racism, and it's inherent in our society that you put, you know, we have the bad guys who are the darker red, black, you know what I mean? Like, that's a political choice. It's a subconscious choice. You may think that you're the wokest person and the wokest author, but you look at the choices that you made in your book and you didn't even realize that's some fucked up shit. So that's why I'm careful about what I'm trying to say in my novel. I'm saying that, you know, this is exceptionalism, individualism is a choice that is a lie that we tell ourselves in order to survive an unbeatable system. But do I believe that the system is unbeatable? The reason why that's important is because it's gonna shape some of the plot, and it's gonna shape what happens to the character and what I choose to happen to the character. Well, it's not gonna be a happy ending, but is it just doom and gloom at the end of the book? Because that's like, you know, and if it is an unbeatable system, am I saying that there's a way to survive that's positive? Am I giving alternative choices? Or am I just saying, this is bad, you chose a bad thing, there's no survival either way? That's why it's important, because there is gonna be a message that comes out of our books and our art. So I was just like, well, do I believe that this system is unbeatable and unwinnable? Like, that's an important distinction to make. It's definitely an oppressive system, and obviously there's parallels to real life. Like the government system that I'm doing in this novel, the reason why the monster is fed people is because it's like prisoners or anybody convicted of a crime gets their bodies cut off and give to this fucking monster. And so it's a government thing. And obviously I'm drawing parallels with real life. Am I saying that there's a way to beat and overcome a system like that? And in my head, I'm like, no. And then that kind of opens up to what I feel about real life, which is like, do I feel like the system is unbeatable? Do I feel like we can win and make a difference and change what this is? Like, do I feel like there's a chance? I'm gonna reference something that I talked about in the first or second week, which was being a world maker. I'm reading this book, I don't know if you remember, or you can go back, How to Go Mad Without Losing Your Mind. It's madness and black radical creativity. And this book starts off talking about world making and like how madness works with world making. We as creators have the opportunity to concoct anything. We can say anything. We can make anything come true. And there's a certain form of letting yourself disconnect from what we have right now in order to potentially imagine a future. And sometimes it's about sticking in that madness to like write something and create something that's reflective of like what's going on right now. But for me personally, kind of writing this speculative fiction and looking towards like a future or something different, I think I need to tap into getting away from what I know to create a world that I don't, and to have hope. Because right now, I don't know if I have hope that things can change and that this world can be different, which is a problem because I'm actively, trying to keep involved in the community and work in organizations. Like, well, what's the point if you don't believe that things can change? And I guess for me, it's just like, well, I'm just trying to make it better as it is. And I'm just trying to help people survive as we are. I don't know if I can imagine a world where capitalism has been destroyed. I want to imagine that world, but I don't know if I can imagine that world. So in trying to figure out what my book is about, it's been a reflective exercise on, well, what kind of world am I making? What is my imagination allowing me to do? And what is my imagination allowing me to say? Can I fathom a different world? Can I begin to try to fathom a different world? And if I try to fathom a different world, can I reflect that in my art? And can I say something about there is a different world? At the very end of the book, the souls inside of the monster figure out how to imagine collectively. And that's kind of how they decide we can survive our decay and rot inside of this monster. And I'm trying to point to collective imagination as a way to survive and a potential roadmap to freedom. That's the closest I can get as far as like, can there be another world? I think that we can all imagine something, but me, myself, and I can't imagine it. So it's kind of like a wish fulfillment thing. So I don't really have a point in this section. It's just me kind of talking out like how important it is to realize that your subconscious bias and your subconscious thoughts will come through in your work, and every choice comes from somewhere deep inside. It doesn't always have to be super deep, right? It could just be everything I paint is purple because purple is my favorite color. But it is something to think about when you're writing. And again, I think this connects people more to their writing and is partially the reason why people really struggle to finish their works and really struggle to finish a whole ass fucking manuscript. You can't just rely on plot. And that's why some people find certain genres to be very thin, because there's no inherent message. But again, I'm going to romance because I feel like that kind of falls into the genre of people feeling like, whatever. But there are choices in romance. Like, what does the character have to do to get the guy? What does the character who gets the guy look like? What does the guy look like? Like it's a visual genre, and that matters as far as what you're choosing to put in front of the audience of, this is the girl and the guy, and this is what they have to do, and this is what the sexiest part of it is, and this is what sex looks like. That's all a choice that comes from somewhere inside of you. That's pretty much it. Everything we do is a conscious or subconscious choice. And if you're looking at what your book is about, it's kind of important to look at the plot and understand what's coming out of you and what you're trying to say. Or if you can't find that, it might be time to kind of step back and think about what you're trying to say, and you can always adjust plot. And so a part of my thing this week was, once I figured out what it was about, I went back and I changed the note cards and I adjusted things, because it's like, yeah, this is a kind of a minor tweak, but that minor tweak really changes where scenes should go and what scenes are about. That's this week. We continue to write. We continue to handwrite. We're working on our handwriting. It's getting much better. I don't have my notebook out, or I would show you how much better it's gotten. We are working on our creative practice. Honestly, doing these videos is really helpful for my creative practice. It allows me to do my makeup, put on something that I want to wear. It's kind of explorative. It's fun. I take it seriously, but it's not that deep. Some people are watching. Hi. So it's a way to kind of get out something. In addition to that, we are making sure that we're staying healthy, and we're going to the gym, and we're getting movement. That is next week's episode. It's about how you fucking writers and you fucking artists be acting like you can't get fit. I'm about to be on your ass, because why are we not healthy? Why are we having back problems? I'm not trying to put an ableist spin onto this. Everyone is gonna suffer from some kind of disability at some point, so that's not what I'm trying to say. But there are ways to take care of your body so you're not fucking aching. Are you moving? No? Okay, let's do that. Maybe I should have did that this week, because obviously I'm very passionate about the fact that artists be acting like they can't do shit. But we're not in fucking high school. I'm an artist, so I don't care about sports and movement. Fuck that. Anyway, that's for next week. This week, we figured out what this book is about, or at least we figured out a big portion of what this book is about. And we'll continue writing and changing things based on what it is about. In the meantime, take a fucking walk, and if you can't take a walk, do your chair exercises. And I'm not being trivial about this. I know everyone can't move the way they can want to move. Anyways, I'm gonna do that next week. Okay, bye.